Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Saturday, February 16th, 2019, and we're going to be taking a very early look at the 2020 Senate elections, of course, coinciding with the 2020 election. So I am going to be using the same mic. Sorry about that. Just how things are going to have to go until I get my converter in. And I don't think the mic quality is super bad. I did hear what it sounded like earlier. I wouldn't exactly call it super high quality, but it's not exactly the worst thing. But today we're going to be looking at the 2020 Senate elections, and we know how many of these states are already going to go just based off the areas that we're seeing races up in, like Montana, Wyoming, Idaho. Montana actually could have an interesting race, but states like New Jersey, Delaware, and South Dakota and Wyoming are probably not splitting away from how they voted in the past. But this map is pretty interesting. It's not too bad for Democrats. It's not the worst thing for the GOP. It's about even for both candidates. Not both candidates, both political parties. 2022 is when I really think the Democrats could have a time to shine if they are able to lose the 2020 election. At this point, the Democratic Party definitely is in the favorite to win the 2020 election with the candidates that are probably going to run. Can't say the exact same thing with the candidates that have already announced for some of them, possibly for others. But looking at people like Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders possibly going to run, without a doubt, they're probably going to win that nomination pretty easily, and they'll probably win the White House. But if that happens, then 2022 probably won't be a wave for the Democrats. Even though the GOP did gain seats in the Senate in 2018, that could happen in 2022, but there's no guarantee. Anyways, moving on to this video, it should be pretty interesting looking at a number of these Senate races, considering not really how close they are right now, but how close they're expected to be. A number of states are currently held by Republicans. I believe the Democratic Party only has 3 vulnerable seats: New Hampshire, Michigan, and Alabama. And Michigan and New Hampshire probably are not as contested as you might think. Both of those states still hold true to the Democratic identity, and I get it. With the right candidates, it could be a very close race in those individual races. But the GOP definitely has a lot more to defend than the Democratic Party in terms of swing states. But these swing states are in red territory. North Carolina, Texas, Georgia, Iowa, Maine, Montana. These are Republican-held seats that the Democratic Party thinks they have a shot in. Colorado is not really a Republican area, but does have a Republican in for Cory Gardner. Going over to Arizona, Martha McSally is currently in. Sorry if you can hear that, by the way. My MacBook charger just fell. But looking at the number of states that the Democratic Party could get pickups in, a lot of it is in deep red territory, so that's not exactly going to be the easiest thing for them to do. But enough talking about that. Let's go ahead and start by characterizing the safe GOP states. So, sorry about that. I would characterize Wyoming and Idaho as safe GOP states, as you normally would on a presidential election map. Going over to states like Nebraska and South Dakota, I don't see much hope for Democrats here. Kansas, we'll get back to. Oklahoma will be safe. Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, West Virginia, which is a possibility actually, South Carolina. So we're actually going to uncheck West Virginia just for right now. For the Democratic Party, they do have some states, the usual ones: Oregon, Alaska, I forgot to characterize as a safe one, Illinois, Delaware, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and not Maine. Let's see. So we have 41 for the Democrats, 42 for the Republicans. And obviously some of these states are probably going to be a little bit more in favor of a certain political party, meaning more likely than lean. But Virginia is probably not going to be safe, especially with a lot of things going on right now in the state of Virginia, but we will need to get back to that one. Looking at the rest of these states, a lot of these could actually be pretty much contested seats. Kansas, I would characterize as a likely state for right now. It's going to be the first likely you see. Probably going to be an ice war just for a little bit, but we'll have other likely seats on the screen in a couple of minutes. Looking at Kansas, that is a state that did narrow down back in 2018. But don't expect much for the Democrats in that seat unless they get a really good candidate. Another seat that I'm probably gonna put in the likely column. If Richard Ojeda runs for Senate in the state of West Virginia, he's probably gonna have a shot. If he runs for governor, he's probably gonna have a shot. West Virginia right now I think could be a likely state depending on the candidates. But for right now, I'm gonna put that one in the likely column for the GOP. So that puts the Republicans at 44. The Democrats are at 41. They'll use 15 contested races, and the rest of these are actually contested. Some more than others. The state of New Mexico is probably going to be a likely state. For the Democratic Party, going over to Virginia, that one is also going to be a likely state, even though it doesn't seem too good for Democrats right now based off the current outlook of the Virginia governorship and things like that. That state will still probably be a likely state for the Democrats. They're able to pretty much hold on to that one time and time again. Going over to the state of Minnesota, that one will also be a likely Democratic state. Just based off the fact that Tina Smith will be up, and it will be her first election, but also they tend to hold with their incumbents. And also she is a Democrat as well. That puts the Republicans at 44. The Democrats are also at 44. Going over to a couple of other states, Alabama, that one is currently held by the Democrats. For right now, we're going to come back and just skip over it. Up in the state of Maine, I think that one's going to go narrowly in the GOP column. And again, these predictions are about 2 years out. A lot can change, to be completely honest with you. About a year and 11 months until these new senators or old senators get sworn in, I believe, or unless it's earlier or later in the year. But still, the Republican Party at 45 seats, Democrats at 44. For the Democratic Party, I do think that Michigan's going to be a likely state. I think that's a state that they've done pretty well in terms of holding. Back in 2018, they didn't necessarily win it back in 2016, but they came within 11,000 votes of winning there. Then in the governorship, flipped it to the Democrats, held on to the Senate seat, and made gains in the House seats there. So a pretty good trend for the Democrats there. Over in New Hampshire, I think that one's going to be a lean state for the Democratic Party. It's still a win regardless. Puts them at a total of 46 senators, and the Republicans at a total of 45. That leaves 9 toss-up seats. Now, looking around the map, these states aren't exactly the most Democratic friendly. The only one that you could say is Colorado. And it looks like the Democratic Party possibly could even just hold on to the number of seats they have now. However, looking at states like Montana, there are candidates that possibly could run here and actually win on the Democratic side, and I think that's the only reason why we're really talking about it. For right now, I'm going to keep it in the likely GOP column just based off how I see it today, and then we'll talk about it more later into the election season as we get more announcements as to who's running for Senate officially and who's declining to run for Senate, which probably means that they're eyeing up something else in the future. So 46 to 46, an exact tie, 8 contested states as of right now, 8 toss-up states. The state of Texas right now, you could argue that Beto O'Rourke possibly could run, but for right now, I'm still going to keep this one in the lead Republican column, just based off that fact alone. And I do think that it is possible for this race to narrow down with the Democrats having certain candidates in, and I do think that it is a possibility it does narrow up, as I showed here, compared to where before it was just a safe state. And that puts the Republicans at 47. The Democrats are at 46. Again, it is pretty close. Going over to the state of Colorado, I think this is actually going to be the first flip that I'm going to call. The state of Colorado, I think, is going to go to the Democrats, probably 4 to 5%, considering that it is a flip. But still, a flip is a win regardless, and that is something to add to the Democratic column, putting them to a total of 47. The Republicans at 47. Martha McSally didn't exactly win here the first time. It does not look really good if she's throwing herself in there. Same argument can be made against Beto O'Rourke, which is why I don't think he's going to win in Texas again, among other reasons. But Arizona, I do think that this one's going to narrowly go to the Democratic Party and put them at a total of 48 seats. As for the Republicans, though, they're probably going to hold on to Iowa, keep that one in the lean Republican column. Kentucky's probably going to go and stay in the likely column for the Republican Party. As for the state of Georgia, I still see that one in the narrow GOP column going into the lean column for the GOP. And my reasoning behind that is I don't see many candidates being able to win in Georgia. I get it. Minority voters are everything. They're probably going to make a huge impact on the outcome of that race in the state of Georgia. But they need the right candidate, number one. A lot of their good candidates ran back in 2018. And if Stacey Abrams does decide to run here, she just recently lost 2 years ago. So her name will be fresh, sure. But they'll know her as a losing candidate, not as someone who wins, which is not exactly the best thing you want to have when you run for your campaign. So the Republicans are at 50. Assuming the Democrats take the White House, that does not mean a majority, but assuming they hold it, they do take the majority. For the Democrats, I don't see them narrowly taking Alabama. I do think it narrowly will go to the GOP, along with North Carolina. And North Carolina, I think, could narrowly go to the GOP, which means that the Democratic Party makes 2 pickups, Colorado and Arizona. But the GOP makes 1 pickup in Alabama. If they hold there, it'll be 51 to 49. But it's going to be really hard to make an argument as to how the Democrats can take back the majority come 2020. That finalizes our Senate map at 52 Republicans and 48 Democrats, with lean states in North Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Iowa, and Maine for the Republican Party, and Colorado and Arizona and New Hampshire for the Democrats, both of which should be eyed up by the opposition party as for possible pickups or holds in 2020. So thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I will see you all tomorrow.